Now we're going to talk about stewed cooking. Stewing something that used to be done in the past. It is a very simple cooking, but it has some small requirements that must be followed to have an optimal cooking. As we said, it is an ancient cooking. Differently from the braised meat, we're going to use the same type of meat, so meat rich in collagen and connective tissue, so back or inferior part of the animal, so tissues that are rich in collagen or with infiltration of fibers. Differently from the braised meats, we're not having only one piece of meat, but we're using many. We're cutting many different pieces, bites of meat, depending on the recipe we will make. So we're going to work on boar, so black meat. In this case we chose an area of the shoulder which is rich in collagen and it's also rich in fat. We're going to take our pieces of meat and we're going to, in this case, cut them into spezzatino shape. So we're making a boar Ragù. So we were using pieces of around 3 to 4 centimeters in this case. During the cooking they will shrink. We're not going to clean it so much, so already by cutting it we are inciding on the connective tissues, so we're not risking the tightening of the tissues, but already by cutting it into pieces we are making the famous incisions. So we'll also talk about marinade because it's black meat. Marinating. We'll talk about a liquid marinade. Liquid marinade is a marinade that is prepared with a base of balanced salt, an aromatic base, a spice base, and a liquid part. By liquid we mean either a neutral base like water or an alcohol base like white wine, red wine, brandy might be, and the aromatic birds, the aromatic herbs, and the odors, agrumes, aromatic herbs, thyme, marjoram, rosemary, sage, and the spices, which in this case is very rich with perfumes. We have cinnamon, juniper, star anise, black pepper. We'll make a game, so wild meat marinade, so a marinade that's very deep in flavor because we have to remove the strong flavors of the boar, the wild flavor, not only removing flavor but also enriching it with other flavors. But we're also sanitizing with an osmosis process thanks to salt and sugar. We're absorbing the liquids in the meat and removing small presence of bacteria or contaminations. So proceeding with the marinade, taking our meat, placing it in a bowl. So again, the stewed cooking is a cooking that requires cutting a section of meat, cutting a muscle of second or third category, cut into all same dimensions. The important thing is that the dimensions are all the same, and that the big part is cut into smaller pieces, all the same size. The stewed cooking is a cooking with a liquid. It is completely submerged, so the whole liquid must cover our whole preparation. It is at low temperature on a direct heat for a long time. Talking about the marinade of wild meat, and in this case boar, we're going to prepare, as we said, our liquid marinade. So some salt, our aromatic herbs, let's not cut the aromatics, just put whole pieces so that after the marinade we can remove them more easily. So we can even break them apart with our hands, but we're not mincing them or anything. Then spices, cinnamon, star anise, juniper. As you can see, the marinade for wild meat is very deep. Then agrumes. We're going to take the zest also adding lemon, and a percentage of sugar. Sugar, as we said before, is part of balanced salt. Balanced salt is a salt that has a more or less high percentage of sugar. Depending on the preparation we will make, we're going to balance our salt. And this makes sure that the salt loses the direct aggression on the meat, and we're going to help the salt create osmosis, but with the sugar we're going to balance the flavor. Once we added the dry ingredients, so the aromatic part and the spicy part, we're going to add our liquid and our marinade, our wine in this case. So we're going to, we have black meat, so we're going to use red wine. So for liquid marinades, the marinating times depend on the type of cut. So we have like small bites, so we are around 5 hours. If we were to marinate whole pieces, we should marinate for longer. So from 12 to 48 hours, no more, because if we have an alcohol-based liquid, it will tend to denaturate the tissues too much, so we'll kind of cook them. So the marinade, of course, depends on the size of the product we are using. In this case, we're going to marinate for 2 or 3 hours. While it's marinating, we're going to step to the cooking process. The ingredients to make our boar ragu will be a mirepoix of celery, carrot, and onion. We have our aromatic herbs. We're going to make a bouquet garni. We're going to need some tomato concentrate. If you want, instead of it, you can use another product. You can also use tomato sauce or fresh tomato. The concentrate, we're working on a smaller quantity, of course. Garlic, the broth. And we're going to start with our recipe. So oil on the base, a lot of oil, because we're going to need to roast our vegetables. We're going to wait for it to heat up. It mustn't heat up too much. Otherwise it's too harsh on the vegetables. So we have celery, carrot, and onion. I'm going to start with the carrots. And once the carrots are roasted, we're going to activate the celery. We're going to roast the celery and then we'll finish with the onion. In roasting mirepoix, we always have to follow the cooking times. We don't put everything together unless we have very fine mince. For example, with bolognese ragu. In this case, on a mirepoix, we must respect the cooking time of the carrot, the cooking time of the celery, and the one of the onion. If we were putting all together, we would risk not to highlight the flavors and we might burn the onion. So it's important to give right times, as the carrot is roasting. We're going to make a bouquet garni. So the aromatic herbs to make a bouquet garni must be rich with raisins, which give the possibility to spread their perfumes regularly. If we were to take parsley, coriander, or basil, so delicate aromatic herbs, we would lose all of the flavors. So depending on the cooking, we have to choose the right aromatic herbs. So we're going to wrap with parchment paper. Tying it up with some string. And we're going to set it aside. As our carrot starts becoming golden, this is the color that we must reach. In this way we will highlight the base, so the font, the basic font that will enrich the border. So this phase is very important in long cookings like braised meats or stewed meats or boiled meat. The difference is made by these phases, these stages, highlighting the vegetables in the initial part. Once our carrots are golden, we're going to add the celery, as the celery roasts, we're going to take our boar after it's marinated and we're going to remove the marinade, so the liquid. This liquid that has been extracted must be filtered and must not be reused if we used wild meat. For other marinades with products from animals like white meat or marinades that will be needed to enrich the tissues of other meats, we might also be reused. Once we've filtered our meat that has been marinated from 2 to 3 hours, we removed all of the aromatic herbs and we removed the liquid. For the liquid, we're going to throw away the marinade. So we made it more delicate. So once we've filtered our meat, we're going to go on with our roasting here. It is extremely important, essential. This is the secret, of course, also in the quality of the ingredients, but the secret in long cookings. We must be patient when we roast the base. For the cooking. The celery is ready. We added the onion. In this phase we're going to add our bouquet garni. As you can see, it's important. Even though this might seem like simple cooking, but it's not simple at all. It needs very precise rules to have an optimal result. So carrot roasted, celery roasted, onion roasted, bouquet garni. We respected the cooking times of all of our ingredients. Once we reach a homogeneous color, we're going to step to the meat. So this is the result we have to obtain. Every vegetable has been cooked and thoroughly, so we're going to add the meat. We will not roast the meat before. We're going to insert it directly in our vegetables, because it's going to be long cooking. In this moment, the meat is absorbing the flavors of the vegetables. So this flavor we created previously. Now we'll try to take out all of the liquids, absorbing at the same time all of the flavors we extracted. This is a very delicate phase because we have to lower the temperature, lower the heat, and let our meat sweat. To have an optimal result, the meat must take out all of its liquid. So nice and low heat, so that the meat starts sweating. We extract all of the water, which starts mixing with the vegetables. Once we extracted all of the liquids, we're going to add our tomato concentrate and then our broth. And we will cook for 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. You can see how it changed color. The meat is starting to take out the liquids. We will make a boar ragu with medium-sized bites, similar to a spezzatino. For this recipe, we're also going to use tomato concentrate. We will not blend with wine. Also because we already, in 3 hours of marinade, we obtained a part of acidity from the wine. So wine, yes, in some preparations, not in all preparations. If we were to make a cacciatora or a white cooking, wine gives this peculiar acidity. Usually when we prepare something with tomato, we tend to only have the tomato acidity as a main acidity element. So as we can see, everything has evaporated. So you can also hear the sizzling noise. We don't have any water. I'm going to add our half a tablespoon of tomato concentrate. Even on the tomato, we're not adding so much tomato. On long cookings, tomato gives color, gives acidity and sweetness in time, but it's mostly needed for the color. And it is an umami ingredient, not for the cooking. So the tomato base we will insert is important to be put now that the meat is roasting. In this case, the tomato is getting candied and caramelized. So long cookings like this need to be cured, to have a lot of attention in the beginning. Then they will cook for 2 to 3 hours silently on low heat. But to give an optimal result, the most important part is the beginning, is the development of the flavors. As we can see, the tomato is caramelizing with the vegetables. It almost seems like we added salt, but we only have 3 ingredients. Once we obtain this preparation, we're going to cover with broth. We're going to cover it with a semi-closed lid to let the excess steam come out. And we're going to let cook on low heat for 2 hours, around 2 hours. Then we will check on our preparation, and then we didn't put salt and pepper. In this case we are developing techniques. Salt and pepper can be added. These are characterizing elements that can give a personalization of the product. In this case we're making techniques, so we're trying to soften the meat, let it take the right flavor with basic ingredients. So mirepoix, celery, carrot and onion, and bouquet garni. And you will see that when the product is finished, you'll have a flavorful product, rich with perfumes, that in the final phase in the 10 minutes. Before finishing our preparation, we can add or balance with salt or pepper depending on the flavor, on your taste also. We're going to let it cook for 2.5 hours. And then we're going to prepare our pasta, and we will prepare our pasta with boar ragu. So our cooking has finished. After 2 hours of cooking, everything has dried, very soft. We're going to strain our pasta. We have a nice round flavor. And now to finish, I'm going to add a few leaves of fresh marjoram. And we're going to turn off the heat. We're going to put pecorino for a savory part, shining out with some raw oil. I'm going to make our rigatoni with boar ragu. Nice and shiny. The pecorino will complete the lack of salt. And we'll have a light dish but flavorful dish. Some more pecorino. And the aromatic bread.